Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for being here today. I want to talk about Ethereum, or more so things that Vitalik Buterin, the founder of Ethereum, has been recently saying. And by the way, if you're new to this channel, I will mispronounce names left and right. Feel free to give me the phonetic spelling down below on anything. But he announced a couple of things recently, and when you tie a lot together, not too much deep digging to be honest, he even kind of is expecting most layer 2s to disappear soon. So I think this is some important information that it has stayed a little quiet because there's just a few connections to make, and I'm sure I haven't found all of them. But for someone that's in a layer 2, like I'm in a Linea, I chose that one for several reasons. There's other good ones too. But there's what, over 85 layer 2s? I've been saying this for a little while that eventually there's going to be some cleanup to do, right? You cannot have so many layer 2s because they all, for the most part, they do the same thing. Eventually, there's going to be a few winners that stick out. And Ethereum pretty much announced that the weeding process has begun. So if you're into any layer 2s, if you're not sure, look, you probably are, or at least in a crypto or a microcap that is on a layer 2. And just want to make sure, get some information out there so you know how safe or whatnot it might be, because there's likely chance that there's a lot of layer 2s are going to have to make some major moves, or they're going to end up vanish or get balled out or something in the near future. So I want to talk today a little bit about what's going on with Vitalik. Want to mention a little bit of what's going on with their Mega ETH layer 2 spinoff that they're doing, and touch a little bit more on why certain people are investing into it. And this wire ties me into Linea. When you have Mega ETH, a layer 2 coming out for Ethereum, and you have Joe Lubin who runs Linea, a layer 2 on Ethereum, and he's financially backing this Mega ETH, a little bit more connections in here, other than he was also a co-founder of Ethereum. So they're not saying that they have to be safe, but I think it's one of the safest ones for that reason and more. And I want to talk about that today in this video. Dissect a little bit about what's being said, what Ethereum's been doing, and how it can affect a shit ton of our crypto, because Ethereum's massive. It's massive. Between all the ERC20 coins and the umbrella effect or tree effect of what's on Ethereum, what's on layer 2s, and what are on those layer 2s, it is quite large. So I think it's important to stay up to date on Ethereum, and it's going to be around. It's always going to be around, guys. It has more institutional backing than literally any other crypto. So let's kind of get into this today of what's being talked about and what am I speculating. And as always, please put your comments, thoughts down below, any extra questions, clarifications, or additional information. I love when you guys add more, like talking to you guys down below. Let's hop into this video. So a little backstory before we get right into talking about the layer 2s. I think there's some ground conversation that we have to have real quickly. Because Ethereum has won several battles. It is going to be around. It has really been battle tested, right? It became the global settlement layer, right? It's not just about a smart contract platform at this point. Ethereum is essentially the settlement layer for DeFi, stable coins, NFTs, on-chain identity. It's going to be and continue to be a large part of tokenized assets. There are trillions of dollars, guys, of stablecoin value settles in Ethereum every single year. No other chain is even close to that capacity, right? And Ethereum has survived hard upgrades, right? FYI, upgrades or migration, moving from one blockchain to the other, has killed a lot of crypto before. Frequently, it makes a price action hit, but it has annihilated crypto from before. And Ethereum has survived every single time, right? I mean, they've had so many large upgrades between the DAO fork. There's been years of congestion. The $200 gas fees back when they first started going, oh dear God. The merging systems they have, when they transition to proof of stake. These are all things that usually will crush a crypto and don't have the survivability. And Ethereum has, and I think it's mostly due to all the institutional backing. It's too much of a pain in the ass for most companies to move off of Ethereum. Plus, why would they when they have something that's at this large of a scalability? Now, over time, Ethereum has spent a lot of time in intentionally upgrading because it was not perfect. Still far from. But, they've helped maximize their TPS. They've got sub-second latency going on now. Their execution is very cheap comparatively, still more room to grow. Mega ETH is going to help them out with that. And it's been optimized so much more for things like credible neutrality, for verification on the global scale, long-term security, right? And all this is put in line for Ethereum to live long and prosper. Can't do it with my hand, or I would. If you guys know what I'm talking about, you're at least as old as me and probably more nerdy. Now, moving forward with this. So originally for Layer 2s, Ethereum had a vision for of what Layer 2s were going to be. And the original roll-up roadmap for it was Ethereum was going to be the Layer 1 base layer. Boom. Done. Layer 2s initially were supposed to kind of act like shards or just extensions of Ethereum itself, meaning that they were going to have the same security guarantees. They were going to end up having the same censorship resistance. They were going to have the same finality assumptions. And Vitalik's definition of scaling Ethereum was quite specific of what they wanted to end up having from this. And they were going to create large amounts of block space backed by Ethereum, full faith and credit. So essentially, in other words, if you were using Ethereum on a Layer 2, it was supposed to feel like Ethereum, right? It was really just going to be, you wouldn't actually know the difference from using a Layer 2, should feel the same. But the problem was that vision kind of ran too much into reality. So Vitalik's forecaster post. So on forecaster and X, and this is where I'm going to start connecting things or moving forward with the topic of this video of what the hell did he say? I'll post it for you guys here. So in a recent forecaster and X post, Vitalik, well, what do you know? He made a post. And you guys can pause it here if you want so you can see the whole thing. But really there was two main facts in this that changed everything. Knowing that Layer 2s did not really decentralize as fast as expected because many of them are still stuck kind of in the stage 1 component. Some openly say that they'll never go to stage 2, which again gets in the way of what the initial concept was. And there's been multi-sigs, upgrade keys, censorship assumptions still remain. They haven't jumped in to act like Ethereum because they didn't have to, which is what the plan was. Ethereum Layer 1 by itself, the fees are already getting lower and lower, and there's going to be more upgrades over time to do it. Their blobs they use are cheap, and gas limits are projected to increase significantly. So because of this, Vitalik had to say something subtle but also pretty powerful. It was that the original vision of L2 branded shards of Ethereum no longer makes sense. That's a pretty big statement. That impacts a lot of Layer 2s. He's not saying that Layer 2s have failed, but he's saying that Ethereum no longer depends on Layer 2s to scale. So as soon as Ethereum doesn't depend on those 85 plus companies to scale, that changes the rules, doesn't it? Because Ethereum's main goal was to live off of Layer 2s so you didn't know the difference. And now they're saying, you know what? I don't think we need them anymore. It's not working the way that we expected. So, clarify a couple things. Vitalik isn't saying he's anti-Layer 2. He's just going to reframe them, and essentially certain ones are going to still get used and other ones are not. So we're reframing them instead of saying all Layer 2s are still Ethereum shards. So now, Layer 2s have to be specialized execution environments that settle to Ethereum, so they're going to be seen and treated more like dApps. Huge difference now. Huge difference. This now means that not every Layer 2 needs maximum decentralization. Not every Layer 2 needs to pretend it's Ethereum. They can have their own little personality, so to speak. And specialization is now allowed, even kind of encouraged. Right, this is why things like app-specific chains are going to come in. Performance-optimized execution layers, regulated friendly environments. They're suddenly far more valid. And this is also why many Layer 2s are now vulnerable to going away. If you don't have something special about it, or it does a niche, it's probably not going to survive. Easiest analogy I can give is, granted this was a while ago now at this point, but I think it was in 2011, California, state of California, had more marijuana shops than they did coffee shops. It was literally more than every block. Within about 2 years, almost all of them went bankrupt. There just wasn't enough. like use for each of them. Two or three stood out, all the others got disseminated. And it seems like something similar is going to happen to layer 2s, not instantaneously. Right? And some of the better companies that maybe don't fit the layer 2 niche that Ethereum is looking for is going to help feed, they might just move into and do something else. A lot of layer 2s have that possibility. And this is what brings me back to constantly saying I think the two safest layer 2s is Base and Linea. There are other ones, but those are the two that I think if I had to bet my money on, which I kind of am, they're the ones that's going to survive. Now, why exactly are a lot of layer 2s going to be weeded out, right? Uncomfortable truth in the way that I see it at the very least is since Ethereum no longer needs dozens of generic layer 2s, the most vulnerable ones are going to share certain characteristics, right? They're going to have the same EVM, they're going to have the same DeFi clones as Ethereum, no distribution moat, meaning nothing that's special or specific to them that makes them stand out. Like Base is supported by Coinbase, they're doing derivatives, they're going to bring a few stocks on, they can pay companies. Invoices, they can pay their employees. That's definitely a specific moat that other layer 2s don't have, right? These layer 2s that are vulnerable are also not going to have any really unique performance profile, meaning do they do something different from the other 80 plus, right? There's no infrastructure advantage. Do they develop dApps quicker? Are there stronger and longer term incentives for them to hop onto it, right? The layer 2s that are going to more likely diminish over time, they're going to be ones that, the layer 1 gas was just too expensive for, and users were desperate. Like dApps were developed just to make Ethereum cheaper. Well, now with this scale of Ethereum, some layer 2s, because of the price of Ethereum's gone down a lot, some companies on layer 2s probably, I fully expect, to move on to Ethereum as a layer 1 onto Mega ETH, or maybe on another layer 2. We will see over time. But just the fact that Ethereum has gotten so much more cheap, Base exists, Arbitrum I think is another really good one that fits a lot of the narratives that Ethereum's looking for, probably going to last. Developers aren't going to fragment too much further than that. At least I don't think so. Again, other layer 2s, I'm going to name them. I don't want to make this a huge FUD video. I want this to be much more of just, hey, keep an eye on what Ethereum, what their founders are literally saying, to make sure that you're in something that you're confident with. But again, layer 2s aren't going to die overnight. They're going to slowly fade. Like liquidity is slowly going to drop and leave. And bear markets are frequently when crypto die, right? They got to survive during the bear market, thrive during bull markets. When you start seeing developers come off of a layer 2, that's going to be a major red flag. The first time a layer 2 that you're interested in, you see a large developer leave, I would recommend instantly investigating as to why, to see if that's something that is important to you or not, right? And then narratives slowly disappear and everything over time. Now, to be fair, there are definitely layer 2s that have moats or specific personalities that makes them stand out from the others. And some of them, actually, I think I mentioned all of them already, or at least all the ones off the top of my head. I like Base. I like Linea. I think Arbitrum, Optimism's going to be around in some sort of aspect for a little while, thanks to Aerodrome, and then Mega ETH, right? There are going to be others, but Linea is the one that I'm betting on the most. And it comes down to one, it is newer. It's cheap as shit because it started up high and did its standard cryptos release nosedive. And I can't have any more faith in Joe Lubin, who helped co-found Ethereum with Vitalik. He owns Consensus, which part of that company does Ethereum Reserve, helps make Linea, which is now layer 2 for Ethereum, and he's financially backing Mega ETH for Ethereum. As far as I can tell, they're essentially still drinking buddies. He's got the insider knowledge to keep everything afloat. He's going to know what technology and direction he should make just by talking to those that run Ethereum now. So there's a little bit more of a deep connection there too, by the way, guys. Now we're all pro Linea for the rest of this video, I think. But Consensus, right? Consensus was a company made by Joe Lubin. It has helped build MetaMask, Infura, and core Ethereum tooling, right? They've worked with Ethereum in the past. Again, all these guys know each other quite well, actually. They've made several projects. Ethereum and then consensus is the next one. And consensus has worked with Ethereum pretty much since day one, right? They were early signal. There was better roadmap interpretation to know what the heck they should do, how they should set things up to move forward, and it just made it far less wasted effort, right? They knew everything they were doing was going in the right direction. It's just like how some of the ISO coins, Quant, for example, they developed their tech for what banks were going to need because they already had the inside information of what technology banks already had. So they knew what they had to do to tweak it to make it fit and connect. Linea can do the same thing to be the ultimate layer 2 because they know exactly what Ethereum's planning to do as they're doing it. All right, this isn't favoritism. If anything, it's a little bit of, we can call it institutional memory. Right? They've got the information in. And networking, it's about who you know that knows who. These guys know each other quite well. Second, for Linea and several others, is having the ZK-based layer 2 infrastructure. All right? It's just, think of it as like the general programming. The ZK is a lot better built in, and it's what Ethereum is going to be pushing towards for things like core infrastructure, making sure that it's going to have much better long-term competency. And it's what Ethereum is trying to push, and it even talks about it in the paragraph. So Linea is not existing as a shard. It's got its own moat. It's got its full DeFi programs. It's enterprise friendly. It's regulated capable. It's got that ZK narrative. And the performance is relatively well balanced. Again, Joe Lubin backing Mega ETH was majorly telling for me. When I saw that article and it was just Mega ETH being financially backed or invested by and named a couple of people, it was very casual. I saw Lubin's name down there. And again, that just tells me a lot because this case, he's in, they know something, Linea fits perfectly into the whole narrative Ethereum's trying to get into. And yes, let me hit the tokenomics real briefly, because I've had people tell me, it's like, well, there's so much dilution. It's like, I don't know, like 70% still needs to come out. Guys, you got to stop being afraid of dilution, right? Quit being afraid of token drops. What matters is where are those tokens that have to be distributed allocated? Where are they going? If there is 70% of a crypto that is locked away, but then 40% is going to get dumped to the team and early investors over a 6-month period, that's concerning. That's high fucking amounts of selling pressure. But if you have something where there's 70% of tokens that are locked away, that's going to be distributed 15% to the team over a 10-year period, and the rest is going to be used for incentivizing both developers and investors to come in, much better. Far less likely of there being selling pressure because things are locked away for 10 years. So knowing where they're allocated and how they're going to be distributed is really what makes the concept of dilution or inflation with crypto scary or not. I got no concerns. I love getting into it when it's this low and cheap. Stake it to create more. I think it's a great time to get into Linea personally. Again, no financial advice, but it is informing you of what I'm doing. So there we have it, guys. I think Linea is on a great fast track to move in and be one of the leaders of Ethereum. There's going to be other winners too. Let me know which layer 2s or just tokens in general you guys like that you're in. Put it down below. If you have any clarifications you want, or if you want to add something yourself, please do down below. Thank you all for being here. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Peace.